This is the Ramana Maharshi satsang, a time to listen, reflect, and deeply meditate. Know yourself and be always free and at peace. I'm Richard Clarke. I'm not a guru or a teacher. I just love this teaching and so want to share it. I'm reading and commenting on the Avadhuta Gita. Continuing this week, I read from chapter 1, verses 45 to 52. 45. As a volume of water poured into water is inseparably united with water, so I perceive matter and spirit are one. 46. Why do you call Atman personal and impersonal, since you are neither bound nor free? 47. Pure you are, without a body, unrelated to the mind, beyond Maya. Why are you ashamed to declare, I am Atman, the Supreme Reality? My mind, why do you cry? Realize thy Atman, beloved. Drink the timeless, great nectar of non-duality. 49. Knowledge born of the intellect, I am not. By nature, truth eternal am I. I am perpetual immutability. 50. Neither formless nor with form, described by the Vedas as not this, not this. Free from separation and unity, the true self reigns supreme. 51. There is no father, no mother, no kinsman, no son, no wife, no friend, no prejudice, no doctrine. Why are you disquiet, my mind? 52. Why do the wise imagine the bodiless Brahman to be a body? In it there is neither day nor night, neither rising nor setting. Here are explanations of these Avadhuta Gita verses from the perspective of Ramana Maharshi. Verse 45. As a volume of water poured into water is inseparably united with water, so I perceive matter and spirit are one. This verse encapsulates the Advaitic principle of non-duality, emphasizing the essential unity of all existence. Ramana Maharshi often spoke about the underlying oneness of everything, where distinctions between matter and spirit dissolve, just as water poured into water becomes inseparable from it. The verse suggests that matter and spirit are inherently interconnected and ultimately one. From Ramana's perspective, this unity is not merely a philosophical concept, but a direct experiential realization gained through self-inquiry and transcendence of the ego. Verse 46. Why do you call Atman personal and impersonal, since you are neither bound nor free? This verse challenges the conventional notion of personal and impersonal aspects of the self, of Atman. It points to the transcendental nature of the self beyond dualistic concepts such as bondage and liberation. Ramana taught that the true nature of the self is beyond attributes and classifications, identifying the distinction of personal and impersonal. From his perspective, identifying with either category, identifying with any side of a duality, binds you to the limited perspective and to the ego. True freedom lies in recognizing the self as beyond such dualities, beyond the limitation of the binding ego idea. Verse 47, pure, pure you are, without a body, unrelated to the mind, beyond Maya. Why are you ashamed to declare, I am Atman, the supreme reality? This verse highlights the inherent purity and transcendental nature of the self, of Atman. The Maharshi often spoke of the importance of recognizing the self as untouched by the limitations of the body, mind, and illusion, untouched by Maya. This verse questions, why would anyone hesitate to affirm their true nature as the supreme reality, as Atman, and suggests that any reluctance stems from a misunderstanding of who they really are? Ramana says that from the ego's perspective, the identification with the body and mind creates a sense of separation from the true self, leading to feelings of incompleteness. 48. My mind, why do you cry? Realize thy Atman, beloved. Drink the timeless great nectar of non-duality. This verse addresses the restless nature of the mind and encourages you to recognize the mind's true essence as the self, as Atman. Ramana often spoke about the need for quieting the mind through self-inquiry and thereby realizing the non-dual nature of reality. Realization is by knowledge, self-knowledge. The verse metaphorically portrays the realization of the Atman as the consumption of timeless nectar, suggesting that true fulfillment and liberation lie in the direct experience of non-duality. Don't fret, dive into and imbibe the nectar that is your being. Verse 49. Knowledge born of the intellect, I am not. By nature, truth eternal am I. I am perpetual immutability. This verse distinguishes between the knowledge derived from the intellect, indirect knowledge, and the eternal truth of the self, the direct knowledge that comes from being. Ramana often talked about the limitations of intellectual understanding and encouraged direct experiential realization through self-inquiry. He said, more akin to feeling than thinking. The verse reaffirms the unchanging and immutable nature of the self, independent of conceptual knowledge or intellectual constructs. Know the self, the never-changing self. Verse 50, neither formless nor with form, described by the Vedas as not this, free from separation and unity. The true self reigns supreme. This verse expresses the ineffable nature of the true self, beyond all descriptions and conceptualization. Neti moves you past mental forms. It is not. You are not a form. Ramana taught that the self cannot be confined to any particular form or attribute. The self transcends dualities, differences, and limitations. This verse highlights the paradoxical nature of the self, which is simultaneously formless and beyond form. It emphasizes the importance of transcending concepts like separation and unity, and with and without form, and to realize the supreme nature of the self. 51. There is no father, no mother, no kinsman, no son, no wife, no friend, no prejudice, no doctrine. Why are you disquiet, my mind? This verse dismantles conventional notions of identity and relationship, pointing out the illusion of separateness created by the mind. The Maharshi taught self-inquiry to investigate the true nature of the self beyond familial, social, and cultural constructs. This verse challenges the mind's attachments to these constructs and questions why it is disturbed by their absence. The self is always complete, and nothing else is needed. Separation is only an idea. Know yourself, and the mind rests easy. It's kind of funny that the mind might be disturbed by an absence of ideas, but the idea of separation and difference is about the oldest idea we have. It's an old habit. Time and persistent effort is needed to break it. Verse 52. Why do the wise imagine the bodiless Brahman to be a body? In it there is neither day nor night, neither rising nor setting. This verse challenges the misconception of attributing physical attributes to the formless Brahman. The mind's habit is seeing things as objects, separate forms with attributes. As the objects change, our world seems to change too. Ramana emphasized the need to transcend the limitations of the mind and intellect to realize the true nature of Brahman. How do you realize Brahman? Know Brahman as yourself. Does Brahman ever change? The verse highlights the timeless and eternal nature of Brahman, which transcends distinctions of time, day and night, and rising and setting. It underscores the importance of recognizing and directly knowing Brahman as beyond all conceptualizations and ideas of limitations. These verses from the Avadhuta Gita emphasize the non-dual nature of reality, where distinctions between matter and spirit dissolve, and the true self is recognized as pure, immutable, and beyond all ideas and conceptual limitations. Through self-inquiry and transcending the mind's habits and attachments, you can realize the formless essence of the self, of yourself, beyond all dualities and conceptualizations. You can realize the self as yourself, leading to ultimate freedom, self-knowledge, and realization. So, inquire, know yourself, and be always free and at peace. And now, today we have a video from Nome, Purnam. I thought perfection would be a good thing to fit with today's verses.
Undifferentiated being is who you are. That alone exists, and that alone is real. All spiritual practice is simply for the purpose of this non-dual realization. Know this undifferentiated being to alone be your nature, and all is perfect. There is a verse associated with the Upanishads, perhaps familiar to many of you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Purnamada Purnamidam, that is perfectly full. This is perfectly full. The emphasis is not so much on this as differentiated from that, the manifest from the unmanifest, all this from the reality. The emphasis in the verse is on the perfect fullness of Purnam. That is the perfect fullness. The perfect fullness is that. What may be referred to as this is the same perfect fullness. The singular, perfectly full Brahman, which is our real self, is invariable. It is immutable. Hence its perfect fullness. The verse could end just with the first words, that is perfectly full. But the rest of the verse is for purposes of explanation, so that the fullness of that perfect fullness is fully realized. What is known as this is only that. What seems to be one's experience is actually only the self, which is the perfect fullness. Being, which can neither be born nor be destroyed, which does not increase and does not decrease, but remains its undifferentiated self. From the perfect fullness arises or comes forth. Again, the emphasis is not so much on something has come forth, but on the ever-existent perfect fullness. There is nothing else to constitute anyone or anything, anywhere. What is this perfect fullness? The unborn, imperishable existence. If or when that perfect fullness comes from what? From or of the perfect fullness. The perfect fullness alone remains. Before anything is created, there is this perfect fullness. When anything is created or imagined, there is the perfect fullness. After the dissolution of such, there is the perfect fullness. Before the beginning, after the end, all through, you are that perfect fullness, the infinite, eternal Brahman. That is the real being, undifferentiated. You are not a being of this that has come forth. But if you imagine yourself to be a this that has come forth, and you inquire, as the Maharshi instructs, who am I? The thisness, the limitation, the objectivity will be negated as a mere illusion, being entirely unreal. And all that remains is that which is the ever-existent, the perfect fullness of undifferentiated being. The verse is usually concluded with Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, to indicate the superlative peace of this utterly non-dual realization, the perfect fullness which is indestructible. That is, the innate, undifferentiated existence of your own self. Inquire to know yourself, and thus realize what the sages throughout all time have been proclaiming to be the truth. Then you yourself are the peace that you experience.
And now we'll take a few minutes to inquire. You exist, and you know that you exist. How do you know you exist? Inquire, investigate within yourself. What's the difference between intellectual understanding and direct experiential knowledge of the self? Reflect on moments when you felt a deep sense of interconnectedness with the world around you. Who are you in these moments? How does your mind create suffering or unrest? Are there moments when you've transcended the limitations of intellectual knowledge and directly experienced the eternal truth within yourself? Dive into that. Who am I? What is the nature of my existence? What actually exists? All right. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. I love that verse for Purnam.
Mm.
So, Evelyn, it looks like Arunachala is drawing you back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It just seems like the place where I fit.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You're going back, Evelyn?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back.
Mm.
I'm gonna stay.
You're going to stay there.
Yeah, yeah. It'll take a while to get a permanent visa, but that can be done. And in the meantime, I'll spend 6 months there and go to Nepal or somewhere. Because a trip from Mexico to there is not one I'm gonna keep doing. This is too much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's wonderful that you are drawn back there, and I know the pull is strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Very hard to explain. It's not explainable.
Right, but it's easy to understand.
Yeah.
You know, and the other part of that is that, you know, I can see how someone could feel like, you know, there's only so much time left in this body,
Yeah.
and, you know, that it's important to use it for what matters.
Yes, exactly. You know, even though, as I've shared with you, I know that presence is everywhere. It cannot not be. But the last days of my life, I don't want to be looking at this wall around
Uh-huh,
my house. I
uh-huh,
want to be looking at that mountain
uh-huh.
and
You know,
sitting in the hall.
you know that again
Yeah.
sounds.
Mm. There's a member of the translation team that her husband found the teachings of Ramana, and he kept telling her, we have to go to India, we have to go to India. And she didn't want to go. And finally they went. She said the hotel where they were at, she could see the mountain. And it was
Mm-hmm,
just an inexplicable draw.
Yeah.
They wound up going back 6 times.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I felt that draw when I was first there, and in the morning meditating on the roof, looking at the mountain.
Yeah.
And it was after just a few days of that that I came downstairs and told Carol we could move.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And yeah, same, you know, the ashram's the same. I was there with my friend one afternoon. We were just standing kind of, I don't know, near the bookstore, whatever. And I said, Marianne, I can't leave this place. And she said, I understand.
Uh-huh,
It's this overpowering sense of, I never want to leave.
Oh.
Yeah. And so, you know, I've gotten it fixed so that I don't have to leave. Well, you
uh-huh,
know, it's, I can get back easily.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Does your friend live there?
She is from Denmark, and she is building a little apartment above a house that is right on Arunachala, between the hill and the cowshed.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and how she came to that was the young man that had the little house and had his bicycle stolen, and he has no feet. So she arranged to help him out, and that's how she stepped into this and said, I'll build an apartment and then you'll have income.
Uh-huh.
So
And
that's
she's
what
right next to the ashram.
yeah, she's right kind of just behind the cowshed, down a little further.
Right, I know the
And
road.
yeah, and right smack there on the hill.
Uh-huh.
But she's been coming 20 years there. So,
Uh-huh.
so she understands.
Yes, yes. And certainly it's one of the places where people are the most understanding and receptive of
Yeah.
someone who wants to be there and just be with the mountain and be with Ramana.
Yeah. Yeah. So the struggle for me here is, being with friends that I've made that I have no interest at all whatsoever,
Right,
and having to be in conversations about stuff that I don't care about.
right.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the mountain draws us, but where it draws us is within ourselves, and that is precious.
Yeah.
Well, namaste,
Namaste, thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
and it's always very good to get together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The book, Who Am I with Comments, is my take on these early teachings of Ramana Maharshi. It's available on Amazon, free to Kindle subscribers. A link is in the video notes. These videos bring Ramana's teachings into your direct experience. Click subscribe to see more. Click thumbs up to like, and send questions and start a dialogue with a comment